Hi, and welcome to this live reading from Fearless Love, The Bennetts of Langston Falls, Book 5 by K.G. Fletcher. And this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1, James Bennett. Sometimes the universe makes it crystal clear when it's time to make a move, like the kind you make in a good game of chess. But before you get started, you should consider all aspects of a move since the consequences cannot be undone. James Bennett believed the advantages of his decision outweighed the disadvantages, and his next move was not a mistake, but an essential milestone in his and Samantha's relationship. And he was ready for a checkmate. Entering the five-star speckled trout restaurant on the outskirts of Langston Falls, his heart blipped with hope. The interior was intentionally dim. The candlelight glows from each table, giving off a boycottic vibe for those weekend couples looking for a little more romance. Although he didn't get the specific table he requested, he thought the romantic atmosphere might work in his favor. It couldn't hurt, right? He stared longingly at the view beyond the large windows across the expansive terrace, wishing for a spot where he and Samantha could dine al fresco among the big porch heaters and crackling fire in the outdoor fireplace. Hues of pink and orange highlighted the stunning backdrop of the long-range mountain view, the winter sunset clocking out at 6:30. But the outdoor space was already filled. Reservations for a prime table required weeks in advance before the Valentine's Day weekend surge. Still, the interior was nice, the vibe everything James wanted it to be for this important milestone in his life. Now, if he could only calm his nerves. James waited for Samantha for almost 45 minutes. She was usually irritatingly punctual, a pet peeve of hers in her law enforcement career, monitoring her assigned parolees fresh out of jail. But since the holidays, his brother Walt's New Year's Eve wedding in Atlanta and his father's cardiac arrest and hospital stay, it felt like they hadn't seen each other in weeks. Hence the romantic dinner reservation and the decision to take things to the next level. He was anxious to talk to her about moving in together once and for all. Having a few drawers in his dresser and closet space for some hanging clothes wasn't cutting it anymore. At least she texted, letting him know she was running late and would be there as soon as possible. He wondered what delayed her. Was she at a halfway house getting someone signed in? Or maybe she had to collect another urine sample from one of her parolees for a drug test. Perhaps she was helping a colleague take a violator back to her rehab or the county jail. James had never been fond of Samantha's job, which often put her in dangerous situations. And don't get him started on how it seemed like she was on call 24 hours a day, including weekends. He'd never understood her willingness to help out the low-life thugs in her occupation. But hadn't she helped his oldest brother, Teddy, when he was released and out on parole? And he was nothing like most of the degenerates Sam worked with daily. He remembered the moment they met like it was yesterday. Samantha, Sam McNeil, was Ted's assigned parole officer, and she visited Bennett Farms to check in on him. When his big dog Jackson jumped up on her, she lost her footing and fell flat on her ass. From the moment he touched her hand to help her up from the ground, he knew she was someone special. Their connection was instant. It was magic. Too bad they had to wait until her time as Teddy's parole officer was completed before they could officially date. Relationships between officers and members of parolee's family frowned upon. Still, they managed to keep things on the down low, meeting for coffee or lunch and biding their time with lengthy phone conversations when she was off the clock. Samantha was instrumental in helping his family through the legal mumbo-jumbo when Ted unintentionally violated his parole after an unfortunate incident at the Harvest Hoedown a year and a half ago. It was the same night family neighbor and nemesis Glenn Kirby punched Sam in the face during a barnyard fight, resulting in a sinister black eye. But all those painful memories were behind them now. Or were they? It seemed everyone in the Bennett family had moved on and found love. Teddy was free and married to his high school sweetheart, Robin. Walt was also a newlywed, his recent New Year's Eve wedding in Atlanta to television producer Elise Farrell, a huge family celebration. His youngest brother, Hank, was engaged to famous country music songwriter Ella Mae Miller, and his sister, Becky, was in a relationship with their former feuding farming neighbor, Glenn Kirby. How the heck did that happen? Hey, Samantha whooshed in and sat across from him, the candles flickering and highlighting her flushed cheeks. James was taken aback and arose from his seat to assist her with her winter coat. Here, let me help. Samantha waved him off and scowled. I've got it. She demonstrated her independence, never allowing him to fuss over her. He reluctantly sat down and watched her fumble through with the heavy fabric. Her dark hair was pulled back into a tight bun, and she was still dressed in her work clothes and sensible shoes. Picking up a thick menu, she peered at the specials from behind. Black-rimmed glasses. Her work glasses. Have you ordered anything yet? I'm starving. James frowned and eyed the empty table sitting in front of him. He'd been sipping on nothing but water while he patiently waited for her. No, I haven't. Samantha glanced over the top of the menu at him with wide eyes. Then what have you been doing here for the last 45 minutes? Staring into space? She laughed at his expense. James cleared his throat and tried hard not to come across as a grumpy boyfriend. I've been waiting for you. Thought maybe you'd gone home to change, but I can tell you're still in work mode. What happened this time? Samantha sighed, took her glasses off, and set them on the white tablecloth. Before she could respond, a waitress appeared and took their drink order. Sam was cordial, smiling as she ordered a champagne cocktail and an expedited crab cake for starters. James decided on a recommended local craft beer. You don't want an appetizer? She asked as the waitress flitted away. James reached for her hand across from him and squeezed. I want to know what's been happening between us, Sam. She averted his gaze and pulled her hand from his grip, grabbing her linen napkin to clean her glasses. I'm fine, James. I'm just late. Are you going to tell me why? Maybe. Maybe? James chuckled. He decided to change the subject. I miss you, darling. I feel like we haven't spent any quality time together since Walt's wedding and Daddy's hospitalization. By the way, how's your dad doing? How's Roy? Her brow furrowed as if she was genuinely concerned. Well, Sam hadn't made it to the hospital since his dad was admitted over 2 weeks ago. She told him she was too slammed, and by the time she got off work, visiting hours at the hospital were over. Still, he was glad she asked about him. James offered a small smile. He's okay. He's chomping at the bit, ready to come home tomorrow. That's tomorrow? Yes, James frowned. Told you to put it on your calendar. The whole family is welcoming him home. Please, Sam, I need you there with all of us. The waitress reappeared with their drinks and Sam's crab cake. Her attention was immediately diverted to the food, and she dug in with her fork, moaning after the first bite. James watched, perplexed by her behavior. She was more interested in eating than hearing about his father's homecoming. It's so good. You want a bite? She took a quick sip from her champagne flute and licked her lips. No, thank you. Suit yourself. She chewed another mouthful, the silence between them deafening. James held up his hand when the waitress came by to take their order. Could you please give us a few more minutes? No problem. Samantha watched the waitress walk away before she shot James a look of confusion. Aren't you hungry? Don't you want to order? James sat upright in his chair, his jaw clenched with determination. I want to know what's going on between us. You've been distant. Samantha exhaled steadily through her nose and laid her fork next to her half-eaten appetizer. I guess now's as good a time as ever to tell you. Tell me what? James steeled himself in his chair, ready to hear about her latest work frustrations. I'm leaving Langston Falls. Her comment wasn't what he expected, and he stared back at her, puzzled. Say again? I said, I'm leaving Langston Falls. James blinked. When? Where are you going? Do you have another court case in Atlanta? Or are you vacationing with your family again? Sam bided some time before she answered and drank the pink bubbly in her glass. Wiping her lips with the napkin, she finally stared right at him, her expression giving nothing away. No remorse, no emotion, no love. I'm leaving Langston Falls tomorrow for Quantico, Virginia to begin training at the FBI Academy. All the color drained from James's face. Sam had mentioned her interest in working with the FBI when they first started dating, but that was well over a year ago. For her to make such a drastic decision without him felt like a sucker punch in the gut. You passed the preliminary tests? His throat felt dry, and he reached for his beer to take a sip. Of course. James swallowed hard and carefully set his glass on the table. Why didn't you tell me? Samantha tilted her head and shrugged. Because I knew you wouldn't like it. You've never been a fan of my work. Her comment struck a nerve. Now, hold on, Samantha. That's not fair. I'm not a fan when you get hurt, okay? When you get punched in the face or slapped and ridiculed by a bunch of convicts. You said it yourself. It's a tough career, especially for a woman. I know what I said, and that's part of the reason I'm turning the page. James? She paused, pressing her lips together for a beat. James, I can't be tied down to Langston Falls anymore. I need a fresh start. I've always thought about a career in the FBI, and the timing feels right. The intensive training is for 20 weeks while I live on campus. I'll come visit you. Sam shook her head. I need to concentrate on my training. It'll be taxing on so many levels, academically, physically, and mentally. And success is far from guaranteed. I don't need any distractions. Then I'll wait for you to finish. You're not listening to me, she interrupted curtly. I'm ready to level up in my career. I'm looking forward to the intense training regimen necessary to prepare me as a new agent to carry out the FBI's complex mission to what? You could tell she was flustered, but so was he. Sam stared at him with unmistakable determination in her eyes, her knowledge of the FBI impressive. To carry out complex missions protecting the nation from criminal threats from terrorists, spies, hackers, gangs, and more, while upholding civil rights and the Constitution of the United States. This is serious business, James. She leaned back in her chair and sighed. I'm not ready to commit to a relationship with you and settle in a small town like Langston Falls. There's no future for me here. He was stunned, his voice croaking with emotion. You mean there's no future with me? Ouch, that hurts. James, please see this from a career perspective. Don't take it personally. He was flabbergasted she felt so little for him. Looking back, it all made sense now. He had always been the instigator in their relationship. She was just biding her time. So, that's it then? We're through? She nodded, undeterred. I'm sorry. Please believe me when I say this. I didn't want what we had to end this way. Everything happened so fast. Well, you should go. If that's what you want, you should go and do it. I won't try to stop you. He pulled several 20s from his wallet and threw them on the table. I'm not hungry anymore. I'll follow you home and help you pack the rest of your things. Sam pursed her lips together and shook her head. Right then, he saw goodbye in her eyes. No need. I already got everything. James pinned her with his stare as the finality of her words closed the door on their relationship. That's why I was late.